Ms. Bishop Hawk, would you do our invitation, please?
Please bow your hands. Dear Heavenly Father, today we ask for your blessings. Be with us today as we consider the business of our nation and guide our hearts. Protect our troops overseas and keep them safe. Bless all our families, and thank you for blessings upon the nation. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Curtis Snell,
Here.
Chris Toth,
Here.
Buell Anglin,
Here.
Bill John Baker,
Here.
Jack Baker,
Here.
Harley Buzzard,
Here.
Julia Coates, here, Bradley Cobb, Joe Crittenden,
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk, here, Meredith Fraley, here, Janelle Fulbright, here, Don Garvin, Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Here.
Anna Glory Jordan, David Thornton.
Present.
We have one.
We will be discussing the plans for the new council house. Mr. Enlow, would you,
Yeah, and to answer your question earlier, yes, we do have a full set of plans. I'd like to reveal those to you now. I'm just kidding.
is that the cover sheet?
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be fine as long as they, the architect that did the Muskogee Clinic, just took this intersection out.
Okay. All right. I think we can arrange that.
This entrance.
Yeah. You think 100,000 would be enough square footage?
We just need the entrance.
Okay. Basically, what I'd like to do today is, one, introduce you to the architects, and I'll give you just a brief biography that the working experience that we've had with them. James Childers Architect Incorporated is the name of the company. Today we have with us Brett Childers and Shane Boren. James was unable to be with us today, but both of them have been working with us on a couple of projects that we have in the works now, and both have actually been actively involved in the Muskogee Clinic, so they have been in tune with us in several projects. Childers Architect has actually designed several buildings, including the Stillwell WP Mankiller Health Center in Stillwell, Oklahoma, the Muskogee Clinic, the No Water Clinic, the Salisaw Administration Building, and they're currently in process with the Veterans Center and working on the elevations for that, so we can hopefully release that to the public fairly soon. They are Tarot certified and Cherokee owned, and very happy and willing, and we have been very pleased with their knowledge that they bring to the table, as well as listening to our needs and incorporating a lot of our artwork. And I think you can see from the Muskogee Clinic that was a very beautiful design, and so we want to try to incorporate that. One of the things I mentioned last time was that we're seeking a LEED certification on the Veterans Center, and so this will actually be the architect's first LEEDs project for environmental design, as well as ours. And so I want to try and continue that as much as possible, as seeking environmental friendly design in each of our facilities. But what I hope to do today is start on some of the programmatic requirements. One is I'd like to open it up for you guys to ask them some questions and then invite them to come up and say a few more words about their company, and then answer any questions that you guys might have, if any, and then get into answering some programmatic questions of things you'd like to see in the facility, be it the Muskogee Clinic Rotunda, or whatever the requirement's going to be. And so first phase of this would be to develop a schematic, and that's looking at what needs to be in the facility. Office space, public meeting space, restrooms, making some assumptions about how many visitors we expect to have in there. A lot of that's based on data that you already have, and your general feeling about how much the public interacts with you, what kind of office space you need, and then what needs to be close to one thing. So like this room, it's designed in the new facility, you want it to be close to the restrooms, or do you want it to be far away from the restroom? Making those decisions would be what we would be calling the schematic phase, and that's just roughly deciding what's going to be inside the facility and what it's going to be located next to. Then after we get that approved, the next phase will be deciding on detailed floor plans and where those will be, and deciding the size and the general shape, and getting more into actual wall construction. The third phase will be developing the elevation. So we've developed the functionality of the building. We've decided what the inside will look like. Now from the public presence is what is the outside going to look like. And then once we get that approved, then we'll actually go into construction documents and getting funding and moving forward with the construction phase and dealing with that next step of the process. So before I ask the architects to come up, does anybody have any questions about what I've described, or any concerns, or if Buell wants to take over? Or
Thank you. So will you address heat and air comfort issues in meeting rooms? And I appreciate, I guess since you're taking on LEED certification, that's comforting. But I hope there's a full exploration of like ground source heat pumps and those things, which was not done on Muskogee. I think you guys get blamed wrongly for it. It still makes me angry. So on Muskogee Clinic, because we have just these opportunities to do things differently. So
yeah, if you would like me to, I can lock Doug out of the temperature control for the room. We'll have biometric scans so that only certain people can adjust the thermostat.
I'm about that.
But definitely, with the LEED certification, we will be looking at every opportunity that we can. And I really want to make sure that we try to do that with all of our buildings in the future.
you're going to get the golden star and the hat.
All right. Any other questions?
Harley?
Todd, have you had a chance to go back and look in past histories of what old tribal council houses were built like or looked like back in the olden days, and see any pictures, diagrams, or things that may have been inside of those houses? I'm sure there wasn't a whole lot.
I hope I get to lean on
Okay.
Mr. Baker here quite a bit. I value his opinion as far as especially relating to the Trail of Tears and,
Yes.
and his knowledge throughout that piece of our history. There's actually already a wealth of knowledge on the council. And we can definitely look into that. Definitely, I think we should pay tribute and homage to and recognition of our history. I think we would be remiss if we just went out and built a completely modern facility without any respect to our ancestors.
And we do have, Brett Riggs is redesigning the ancient village for the Cherokee Heritage Center, and he's an archaeologist out of North Carolina, University of North Carolina. He just completed roughly a 90-page report, which includes the council houses, because there was both a winter and a summer council house. So we can look at those drawings to incorporate, to get a historic look and feel to it.
Also, we have two.
That's what That's all.
There you go.
Todd, have you ever been over to the Creek Mill and looked at their council house?
Yes, it's been several years ago. The roundhouse permit that they have.
Yeah.
It's been several years ago
I would
since
like
I've
for
been
these architects to take a look at that.
Okay. Have you guys?
It's very impressive. It's it's for the council, sitting council.
We're gonna
If
call
they
it.
haven't, if they didn't work on it or whatever, I'd like someone to take a look at it, because
Okay.
it is really, to me, it's really nice.
I erected that roundhouse down, were you talking about the Creek Nation? I think I must have plans on it.
It was supposed to be square.
One little mistake here. But that is a nice structure.
It's impressive.
Oh, no.
That's nice.
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Snell, this is kind of just thinking, I'm so pleased that we have Mr. Baker and Dr. Coates here who have a wealth of historical knowledge concerning the Cherokee Nation. And yeah, I would like to see, as a Cherokee citizen, us incorporate as much historical significance as possible, because I think we have a very rare opportunity. One question I had about possible location. I know we bought the lumber yard near downtown Tahlequah. Is it feasible to think about building it there, right across the street from our historical capital, Supreme Court building, or old Supreme Court building? Is that something that's even feasible, or would I just be piped in?
I'm trying to think of the general size that we have there. It's not completely unfeasible. I would prefer that we didn't do it there. One reason is because the Supreme Court justices have actually come to us and said we need more space. We feel like we're destroying the inside of the facility, and with their growing needs inside the court system, they said we feel like we've outgrown the size of this, and we don't want to continue to deteriorate the facility. So their goal was
they might be leaving, but that Capitol building's always going to be there.
Correct.
A major cultural tourism.
Exactly. One of the things that we are looking at doing is renovating that structure on the grounds as well as the building, the Supreme Court building there on the corner. So it's not completely unfeasible. So we'd have to look at the layout and the size and everything, but to my knowledge, we do not own the access street that runs behind Dodson Roberts, that runs parallel with the stream. We own up to right to almost halfway into what you would consider a lane.
And parking would be a problem.
Exactly. And that's the other thing I wanted to make sure I conveyed to you is there are no preconceived notions as far as size or scope or color or location. I would be happy to offer up some recommendations and do some additional research on possible locations and where we could potentially build a facility. But I just wanted to. I've looked at optimal places. I think they would be a good fit, but there are no preconceived notions at this point.
Councilman Fraley?
Yes, Todd, do we have any type of energy, environmental plan, future plan that, or maybe this is something architects should answer, that we will incorporate into this council house, particularly from an energy standpoint?
We've actually adopted a policy, not necessarily a full detailed plan, but a policy as far as when we do any remodel or new construction. We have it's a fairly simple one-page policy of exploring all the opportunities that we can and utilizing technologies that are proven, and so it's, we're not going out and looking at fly-by-night stuff and seeing if we can deploy it and make it work. We want to look at things that are proven, but I can share that with you. We do have a policy that we've developed.
Thank you.
Councilman Hoskins?
Yeah, just a comment. I think that the council is the most significant branch of this government. I think it's the most important branch of this government. I think the building needs to be the crown jewel of all the buildings in Cherokee Nation. I think it needs to, I hope our architects will get us there. I think it needs to be the building that people think about in their minds when they think about their government. So my feeling is, I know it's costly, but let's make this the crown jewel of all our buildings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
More questions?
I've got a comment. Of all the Native American themed buildings or structures that I have been in, I've never been in one as impressive as when you walk in the casino at the Mohegan Sun. It is, who's been in there? I mean, okay, you know what I'm talking about? It's round like a roundhouse, but all the massive beams and let our architects look at that.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Would you mind flying out to?
I'll take one for the team if that's
I have more questions for Todd.
Okay. If that's hearing none, I would.
I got a question,
Yes,
Todd.
sir.
I'd like to hear just some of your, where you think maybe a house would sit. You know, that might get us to thinking about, you know, more opportunities or more places.
What I'd like to do is share with you what the Supreme Court's looked at. Their requirement was, when we talked to them initially, was that they wanted to move from downtown and move closer to what they consider the day-to-day operations. And so they wanted to be here near this campus. And so we looked at properties that we owned or that were adjacent to properties that we owned that were potentially for sale that we could acquire to build on. And so we gave them about 5 or 6 options. And the one that they gravitated to is the area here just below the Johnny Catcher Youth Shelter on that hillside. Originally they had looked at developing the Child Care Development Center there, as well as this area over here behind EMS. And they chose not to build in those 2 locations. One was because of potential peering out here behind the EMS building. And the other reason, they really liked that for the building site for the child care facility, because of the hill. There was going to be a tremendous amount of dirt work or a fence to stop the kids as they rolled down the hill to keep them rolling off the property. So that's where they would ultimately, that's their priority one, top one that they would like to look at. Part of that is from symbology of being able to look over and oversee the actions of the council as well as the administration, and being close to both of those. And so that's kind of where they were looking. We have a tremendous amount of property between the main complex today and where Sequoia High School campus starts. That property line goes all the way back to and surrounds the Job Corps Center, goes back to that access road that leads down to the powwow grounds, and that is undeveloped today. And it sits on the hillside. I think would have a very nice view, and it has great public access that we could further develop. So in my opinion, that's where I think our best option would be, was, you know, trying to keep our government functions within a fairly centralized area and keeping public access fairly easy. And there again, as Mr. Hoskins said, very visible from the highway and very noticeable as a function of government. So we've got quite a bit of acreage that we can develop there. Utilities run all the way through there. We have fiber optics, telephone lines are plenty there. Of course, we have the regional gas line that runs across there, but there's gas that runs along that access road. We have electricity that runs across the front and the back of the property. So from a construction standpoint, I think infrastructure-wise, there's a lot of things there that are already in place.
Kara,
What is next steps? Because I don't hear anything else that can be done today.
Actually, one of the things, one of the things I'd like to do is actually start to do some programmatic schemes of what needs to be in the facility, and then also get some consensus from the council as far as how do we proceed on with making suggestions, hearing feedback, having the architects come back and present stuff after a meeting. And I will share this with you and be completely honest. My concern is, in designing this facility, of getting consensus with such a large group. It could be challenging. I mean, if I was going to organize a project inside to work on a specific project, we would do a project size of somewhere between 5 and 7 staff to try and gain some consensus and keep the group small. But we're willing to work with the council however we need to. So that's one of the things I hope we get to further decide.
I'm going to make a motion that you survey us by email with specific questions to prompt us each, and then come back with a summary at the next regular resources meeting that we can vote up or down or amend. And that's a group consensus so that they can move forward, and then the following one have some kind of concept done. So April resources and then May. So it's a motion.
Second.
I think
Motion and second on,
Meredith had discussion.
there.
And Karen, are you talking about like phase 1 first? These questions in regard to schematic, or are you talking about questions in regard to all 4 phases?
Content of the building. Do we want, I'm sure they have specific questions like how much office space do you think is required? Do you think you should have your own office? You know,
If you want just the schematic first.
and then you guys project a timeline for us and expectations for phases. Don't let us mandate your job. We mandate content of your job, but we don't mandate your job on project schedules.
You feel like feedback-wise? Sorry. As far as feedback-wise of interaction, I think that would be.
We could try maybe today to see, get an idea of programming. Because that's where we need to go next is concepts and basically establish departmental relationships and sizes of spaces. So
What I'd like to do, if that's the will of the council, is develop somewhat of a standardized survey and ask the same questions. That way, we're not trying to pull different things from all over the place at this point, and see how that works. And I want to make sure we have good dialogue, that we don't get lost in translation in theory. So I'll try to develop a survey and get that out to you as soon as possible. I'm sorry?
Within this survey, I hope that we could all agree today that we need to envision growth amongst our staff. You know, it's kind of like putting in a road in Oklahoma. Don't put it in for what's driving over it now. Plan for what's going to be there 10, 15, 20 years from now, because this may be the only opportunity that we as a council get to have input on council's generations to come, because they may not ever get the opportunity for another building. So maybe envision growth there, not just what we need today, but what we will need down the road when we're not here, but somebody else is.
Let's hear from our attorney.
And that's an excellent point. When I first came to work for the tribal council, it was 2 offices in literally a hallway at the complex. You know, and now it is expanded to 17 members, and you oversee a budget of well over $400 million. And Lord willing, that's only going to increase and expand. And with that, you're going to obviously envision more staff, more people that will be able to help you.
Call for the question.
Kara, what was your motion?
I'm sorry, I have to fly out. So it's a motion to just survey us, and it's an agenda item on the next April resources meeting for him to present a summary of the surveys of the content of the building, and then we would either yay or nay or amend as a group, so that he's not fighting each of us on what our personal wishes are. And it was seconded by Dawn.
Second. Any more discussion?
Call for the
Call for question.
Move the table. I mean, I'm not ready to stop discussing. And
there was no to stop discussion. It was a motion to actually take action. You guys can still go do whatever you want, but I want to make sure that there's a survey done so that we have time to think about it.
And that's fine, but I mean, if you saying you're having to fly, and.
So the motion I made, I'd like to vote on, and then you guys can go have whatever discussion you want about the council office.
Well, but while we've got the architects here and Todd here, I think it would really be a good thing to.
Just because we vote on that motion, point of order, just because we vote on that motion doesn't mean that we're ceasing discussion. You can make another motion to have Jack do something, you can have whatever. It's not ending the meeting. This is the survey. You disagree with the survey?
No, I don't disagree with the
Delay it a
survey.
couple months?
Well, I don't want to delay. I'd really like to sit here and get some input from everybody as to whether they think they need a private office or not, or how big offices we could do, and whether double the size of this room is good enough so that they can have something to start with.
Question's been called, and that's a separate.
Well, and there's another motion to table.
I'd like to call on the attorney to give me some guidance here.
But Ms. Callan Watts' motion is not to adjourn, is to ask for one specific item that which is going to be information that you're going to need, a survey of all of you.
Called before the table.
And
there's no second.
yeah, and what we would, there's no problem in taking her vote, and plus there was a motion on the floor, second, and there was a call for the question, which would take, that ends debate. Now, a motion to table would be more proper after her second, before the question was called. So I think we're talking semantics here, because the discussion will continue with the architects and everybody else, regardless of the outcome of this vote.
So what we do now, vote on it.
Take a vote. My recommendation would be to take a vote.
So all in favor, yes.
Yes.
All opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're back to your.
Now we can continue our discussion.
Todd, in order to give these fellas something to work with, I assume you're wanting from this body a consensus of how much office space we need. Is that?
Generally, some of this would be covered in the survey, but we came prepared as much as we could to, we brought a paper chart that, if we wanted to jot down any notes or comments or, big ideas, or, even if somebody wanted to throw something out there, we came prepared so that we could interact as much as we possibly could today, as much as necessary. So, I would also like to give the architects a little bit of time to come up and introduce themselves a little bit more than what we have. But it's flexibility, however you guys want to do that. We do have them here to help out with that process today.
One more question from Tyler.
Well, if we're going to start discussing the building, I don't know about everybody else, but I'd like my own office. And I've just been talking to people privately, and it seems like most everybody wants their own office. You got to have a place to meet your constituents. So maybe we want to get that out of the way at the first, and give them some guidance that if you do want, if we need 17 offices, that tells them they're probably going to have to do some sort of horseshoe type thing around a meeting area. That gives them some idea and some direction. They could probably bring you back some little drawn out plans next time. And if you don't, it's not that I don't like officing with 5 people, but when someone comes to visit us, everybody says, well, do you need this office? Well, yeah, I guess, because there's no other place to meet them except outside by the cars. So, and a lot of people don't want to talk in front of 5 other council members. They would rather talk in private to their council member and let them figure out how they're going to talk to other council members. Just a thought. And not being
Mr.
greedy,
Hoskins,
but
you
just
have
a
the
thought.
floor, and then we'll have the architects to speak.
Okay, I agree with Tyne. I think at a minimum we need, it doesn't have to be large offices.
No.
It needs to be something that we can sit down with the constituent. And then we need plenty of conference room space, which I think she's spoken to. I like the idea of the horseshoe design. And like she said a while ago, I think this is a one bite at the apple in a generation. We shouldn't forget that, and make sure we get the space that our successors will want, not just us. Thank you.
Todd? Does the architects want to speak now?
Yes. I said yes. I don't know if they do or not.
I just want to introduce myself. My name is Brett Childers, and I've been with the firm for about 9 years now, and had the opportunity to work on several of the projects that Todd had mentioned. So I consider this an honor to work on this tribal house. We do have a lot of good information on the historical tribal house, interior shots of construction, so I think that would be important to go back and look at. We will, if I understand it, we are seeking lead on this facility, so we are currently doing that on the Veterans Center. Anything?
Well, I think as you all were discussing, I was writing down some notes, and I just want to get them down for all of us. But one of the issues I heard was growth. The other one was to be LEED certified. Does everyone know what LEED stands for? It's Leadership in Engineering and Environmental Design. And the way it works is it's through the United States Green Building Council. You can go to usgbc.org to learn more about it. But basically, they've set up a program that you get points for incorporating green design into your facility. And those green design elements are a number of things. They include energy conservation and commissioning of the energy portion of the building. They include utilizing resources within a certain radius of your site. So, for example, I think they're called SIP panels that are made in Stillwell. You can get LEED points because they're so close to the site for utilizing those types of materials. And then it goes on from there. Solar, wind power, geothermal, and also environmental things like using certain kinds of paints and finishes that aren't harmful to the environment. There's a whole array of ways to get points, and it's certain levels. So you get a certain amount of points and you're certified. The next level's gold, silver, and then the highest level is platinum. And as we get into the process, we'll explore how high we want to go as far as certification. But that's what LEED is. It's a great program. It's the leading program for green building design right now in the industry of architecture. One of the others that I heard was meeting space or offices also.
Yes, Harley, you got...
I got a question on the LEEDS program. You talk about points. What does this do for you? Or what does it do for the builder?
For the owner of the building? I think it does a couple things. One is, in the long run, they've shown that your energy cost savings can actually be paid off in a reasonable amount of time. Also, I think it brings a certain amount of leadership within the tribal groups to say that we value our environment enough that we're willing to proceed with this program. And so to take a leadership position for the Cherokee Nation might be something that you all could kind of hang your hat on as well.
So there's no, is there any incentives from the federal government that you go, like to get the silver, platinum, or gold status?
I've heard that there are some incentives, but I don't know exactly what they are, if there are any.
Well, there's tax incentives, but I don't...
Yeah,
they might not apply in this case.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and so one of the things we feel like our strength is designing for the culture, specifically the Cherokee Nation culture. We're very familiar with it. We've done it many times. But we've also worked with the Creeks and the Choctaws and others. So that's one of our strengths, and it's actually exciting to hear that it's a priority for you all, because while it's a challenge to us, it's something that we've built our business on. So, designing for culture is something that I'm hearing also. Someone mentioned heat and air and comfort issues. I think with the LEED program, those will be addressed. Ground source heat pump, same thing. And then another issue was location. We'll need help and direction on that from you guys. And we talked about the process, how we're going to move forward. That was one of the issues that I had jotted down for us. Kind of a need to know is how we proceed in this process. But I think maybe we work out those first steps. And then for us to do, take a tour of the Creek Council House, we'd love to do that. I would certainly love to go to the Mohegan Sun. I don't know if I'll get to. But, and then there was a report that someone mentioned. I'm familiar with that being out there about the traditional council house that someone has done. If we could get our hands on that report, that would be very helpful. I don't remember who mentioned it, but
It's the same one you get from the Heritage Center.
right, that's where I heard it from. Was that we're the Heritage Center?
It's me.
Okay.
David, did you, David?
Well, there's a report.
Todd,
Yeah.
on location, is there any way you can get a map of this whole area and give us the properties that the Cherokee Nation owns so we can look at it?
We've got some great aerial photography too, and we can overlay the property lines and any utilities that we have out there as well. But we can plot all that out.
On the energy savings, he mentioned some of them. Can you put those on there too? And let's
Yeah.
the taps and-
Yeah. Brett and I actually discussed a week or so ago, was it 2 weeks ago, with a gentleman that was an architect that worked on a project in Albuquerque, New Mexico, on a facility, and they had actually done pre and post testing, and the energy cost savings was significant. It was like 10% of what. And they have gone very aggressive on some of their design, and of course their environment is a little different than ours as far as construction as well as temperatures and humidity fluctuations. They had a little bit more leeway than what we might have for such a public space in Oklahoma. But we did discuss that, and we've got some data that I can get from them to share with you as well, so you can see what impact that would have on a real world test that they've got.
Thank you.
I was just jotting down.
Hold on, Jody.
On there is, I've heard talk of this before, is it going to be 7-sided?
That's one of the elements that we can look at and
Okay. The other thing
explore.
is, I would like to talk to somebody about standalone, maybe done technology for our room so we don't have to go through anybody else, because I get aggravated over passwords, I get aggravated over the web restrictions when I'm just going to, a simple little website, I don't like my email being stopped, so can we set something up in that so it does not go through anything, we're on our own?
One of the things that this team that's being established here probably is going to need clarification. I was talking to Todd briefly before the meeting started, but he obviously has an impeccable reputation at the Cherokee Nation because of his involvement with all different kinds of departments over the years. And, any opportunity to avoid a situation where communication breakdowns or expectations may have not been met due to expectation or bad communication, we would always try to avoid that. But I think one thing that can present itself as a potential hindrance to this project is clear lines being defined of ownership. Obviously, this is a legislative building. It's a legislative project. It's going to be funded by the legislators. It's going to be housing the legislators. I think if we keep that in mind and utilize the resources that are at our disposal, that are adequate and experienced and obviously have a track record, then we don't have the risk of exposure to lack of qualification But I think we do have the exposure of possibly putting someone like Todd in a position to where when this is done, someone's expectations didn't get met and can be criticized. I go back to who owns the project. And I think that those lines really need to be clearly drawn, because these guys are all professionals, and they're here and they will do, just like I try to do, the wishes of this body. But if the body doesn't collectively come together and give them a true roadmap to get accomplished, then we're going to have the opportunities for that later, that criticism. And that's my only concern in this project. And it relates to your question specifically. Now, I've told several of you that I have a concern when, in this day and time, I feel like information is power. And the Constitution says true separation of power. Well, how can you have separation of power if you don't have separation of information? Congress would never allow the presidency or the executive branch to house all their information systems and manage them and control them. We don't have an IT department here, and I realize that. But today, with Legistar, everyone's laptops, we are in a digital world right now, and we're all using it. I just think it's another opportunity to further define the lines between the branches of government. And that would need to be considered in this project of IT. The IT capacity of the building that's going to be available to all the body as well as the staff needs to be considered in this. And who's going to be responsible for managing that aspect of the project. I hope that answers your question, but I know I expanded on your question a little bit. But project management is something that we're not doing every day here in the legislative branch. They are. So I'm hearing the intent is to keep the project management in-house, with the resources of Mr. Enlow and in conjunction with architects and construction management, and versus outsourcing it, which is an option. It's probably not the wishes of the body, but at least everyone understands that's an option. We could just outsource the whole thing, but we don't need to do that when we've got these resources. So that's why I think it's very important that we understand when we cross the branch line to use the resources from the executive branch, we respect that line and don't put these people in a position later where we can criticize, because we didn't give them a clear roadmap to get to where we need. These things like IT are going to come up, just like office space and everything else. Future growth and 7-sided versus something else or whatever. But
That's what I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
No, he touched on it. I was just about information technology requirements and independence.
That's what high schools.
Yeah, just briefly. Let's just be clear. There's absolutely nothing inconsistent about leaning on Mr. Enlow's expertise for the construction of this facility and the notion that we absolutely ought to be independent when it comes to information technology. There should be no tension between those two concepts. We absolutely need to move towards independence when it comes to information technology, period, in my opinion. But at the same time, we can move forward with using his expertise. Thank you, Mr.
Brett, you may continue if you like.
I have just a question for IT. Would it be serving just this facility, or would it also be serving satellite facilities connected to those? Just this facility?
We would need to have the video conference.
We would want to have it configured so that it at least connects to the internet because of one, publishing the meetings out on the internet in archival purposes, and the other is interaction with council members that are either abroad on travel or out of the office for committee meetings.
Okay.
We wanted to maybe get a handle. know how much time we have, but if we have enough time on kind of the main spaces, so if I could get some feedback from you all, I've jotted down council office spaces, committee meetings obviously occur, and I'm assuming they may want to occur separate from where the council meetings might occur. I'm assuming that's probably a bigger meeting than the committee meetings. So I've kind of separated those as two separate spaces. Maybe there's 2 or 3 of these committee meeting spaces with one large council meeting space. And then I think you're going to need some administration space for the administrators that serve you all here. And then I've got the public areas, whether it's a lobby, public restrooms, those kinds of things. Are there spaces that I've missed or haven't thought of?
Yeah, for sure. As far as, the council meetings, they may or may not ever be here. The committee meetings, I would think one large room with maybe 1 or 2 conference rooms, but there won't ever be, there's only 17 of us, and almost everybody is a member of every committee, so the possibility of 2 committees going on at the same time are slim and none. But maybe, I could see how we could be having a committee meeting and need a conference room.
Okay.
Or, an additional meeting room, but not too distant big. And then, for growth purposes, we're going to need probably 6 or 8 larger offices and 16 small offices. Would that be accurate? That's good.
The 6 to 8 large offices are what kind of offices? Who
They'd
are
be
those?
for staff and the Speaker of the House and for growth, and then 16 smaller offices that would just be, well, the Speaker's going to be in one, is why I said that. And 16, minimal, not tiny, but minimal offices.
These counselor offices, will they have, someone had mentioned they'd like to meet with constituents. Are we talking maybe 3 to 10 people in this room, or that many, or?
I think that's why we may need another room.
I think that's
off to
why the
side
conference room.
If it
If
is
it's
more than a
2,
couple of people.
Yeah.
Got it. So at least room for a couple of people, and
then, like I say, 1 or 2, they just, a table of 8 maybe, that if a group came in, you could meet with them. That's all? Okay.
Well, that was the thing I was going to bring up, was a vaulted room for your records, but in combination with that vaulted room, turn that into a safe room for storm purposes. Every building now should have some place for you to go in the event of a tornado.
What if we're in a meeting? Would that room need to accommodate all, the capacity of the building?
Well, I'd hate to tell our visitors, sorry, if you don't have a ticket. So maybe the council room is, if it's in the middle, maybe it needs to be a safe room. The safe room may be for more than just us. We'll have people dropping in the event of a tornado. I can remember we went to one council meeting a long time ago at the main building, and they actually put us in a musty old vault, and there was about 20 of us in a room that should have held 5 people. So
Nobody wanted out, though.
no, nobody was trying to get out. They was more trying to get in the door. So, safety needs to be something that we think about if it's within the realm of affordability, which it's probably going to be high, but
One of the things I wanted to make sure that you guys knew, we're actually working on applying for a grant that will actually provide several safe houses or safe rooms that are built to withstand at least an F4 tornado. And we're looking at those for the Sequoia High School campus, as well as in addition to their existing emergency shelter that they've already built. And the reason we're looking at, I say Sequoia High School, that would meet the needs of the Head Start facility as well as the child care facility adjacent to that property. And then the other thing that we're looking at are going to be obviously key personnel and staff. in the event of a nuclear disaster, there's actions for the president as well as the legislative and judicial branches. And so, not that we're going to send Air Force One to fly around and get refueled automatically, but we are considering and writing grants for those. For the marshals, the attorney general, our key positions in our government, that in the event that we had a major crisis like that, we'll have shelters. But we're seeking federal funds to build those. But definitely we could use the safe room and build it so that we'd be in an interior space that would accommodate several people.
Mr. Hoskins.
I thought I heard Councilman Baker say we may not have council meetings in this building.
Why?
It's because it's open, the question is open?
Yeah, may or may not.
Okay, but because, that seems to me to be very significant. I would like to see us operate completely out of the building. So that's probably something we need to come to a consensus on too at some point soon.
If there were to be a new council meeting space, how many people are we talking about for those meetings?
Well, it needs to be comparable in size to
the
our
current council chambers will hold 150 people in
plus the 17 seats.
Exactly. And then we also have some overflow ability that can grow up to somewhere between 185 and 200 total. But the actual seating in the council chambers is designed for 150.
Is it enough seating right now? Does it get full already?
It depends.
Would we want it? Would we want it larger than that or not?
But it does get full now.
Mine just follow up to Mr. Hoskins is, I think the council chambers, is what we're talking about, meeting space, would probably require its own little design. Because the way it's currently designed, it's very cumbersome. So it probably require its own little report.
So for now, we're saying 200 people. And this may end up in a survey, I think I heard, but I just want to get a little bit of a handle on it. 200 plus the 18. We're not talking about it being bigger right now, right?
One thing I think would be important for the architects to work with is if it's possible to keep this on one floor, keep it on a one floor basis, because you don't want to deal with elevators, make it vertical, make it less handicap accessible. If you could spread this out on a one floor basis.
David, you got a question?
That's what I was going to say, was it needs to be made ADA accessible.
And include the hearing impaired. Because even in this room, sometimes it's hard if you sit in certain areas to hear what everybody else is saying. Yeah, it is. And I'm younger.
I'm older dirt. So
going back to the vault, do we have a feel for, someone mentioned that records might get stored in there, a size of that? Anyone?
Probably at least a 12 by 12.
10 by 20.
Or 10 by 20. Okay.
So 150, 200 square feet will be big enough. Okay.
But folks, it wouldn't take much more to make that vaulted room into a safe room. If you made it a little bigger.
Well, we'll take it. That's what we did with the main complex. We just opened the vault up and everybody went in.
Okay. Were there any other spaces that I missed?
Did you get it?
Oh,
something where all of our equipment and everything is outside of the meeting room?
As far as public areas, we're talking. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We need a kitchen.
Okay. That's good to know.
And we need a good size area for our copy machines and that, and we obviously are going to need a computer room. Network room.
And it might combine the network room with that IT room and have it housing not only the network equipment and personal computer equipment and all that, but the phone switches, the equipment that's running our video and our streaming.
And 2 bathrooms is probably enough, as long as there's 6 holders.
and not too far away from the building.
Yeah.
The copy room, is that to service the council offices?
Yeah, for all we do a lot of copying, so we've got right now, 2 major copiers, and then we've got our printers and stuff. So it would just be a room to house our copy machines and such.
So administration and council both, you wouldn't have 2 separate
Right.
rooms?
Pretty good sized workroom.
Janelle once mentioned to me, she once mentioned to me that she would like it set up in here where she could turn the volume up, at a little desk or her little workspace here, because she don't catch everything. Is that possible?
I heard, turn the volume. Yeah, I can't hear over Doug.
Embellishing there.
Janelle mentioned once that she said, I can't hear good, and I wish that we would set up some microphones or something at her desk where she could turn the volume up on hers.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
Is that possible?
Part of the information plan.
The kitchen, are we talking about dishwasher, fridge, freezer,
Kelly?
kind of stove? Are we talking restaurant type amenities or?
No. It definitely needs to be a building.
Okay.
Just kind of a break room. Water.
Okay.
Refrigerator.
Coffee grater.
Dishwasher would be
Kind of a residential.
Dishwasher. I don't think we need any gas appliance. That's doing that. We're not doing
A stove for you
Wouldn't
to
hurt
throw
that to warm up stuff.
or beans.
Beans, we can have
Yeah, a
beans.
stove for you to throw the stew and beans on.
I mean, what we're doing is having a 30-inch range, nothing commercial.
Yeah.
You gonna donate it?
We're gonna have you donate them.
Donate what?
The stove and the refrigerator.
I need to transport with all those trailers off.
This may sound silly, but what do you think about an exercise room? I know the Cherokee Nation is promoting healthy people, and the clinics has exercise rooms.
Good idea.
Yeah.
That's a,
Put an exercise room in.
yeah,
Health room.
yeah. It is a health room.
Is this a serious one, or are we?
I'm serious.
I didn't think
Back on the kitchen, I have just kind of a residential. Is that what you all kind of decided on?
that would be plenty, yeah.
Along with the exercise room, be a pool.
May I go ahead and excuse myself from this project?
Mindful, you're on the internet. That's all a joke.
Put in a. We got 2 or 3 people.
What else?
today.
Silly.
We're down
Work
to
here.
2 minutes ago.
If unless there's nothing else, we feel comfortable with the information we've gotten, along with the survey that's going to be developed. We feel like we're on the right track as far as starting to develop what we call the program for the facility. So,
You might think in our small offices, someplace for storage. I don't know about y'all, but all the paperwork we have that we need to keep, or feel like we need to keep.
space for like filing cabinets or built-in bookshelves, or what do we?
Well,
Christmas lights.
Storage rooms.
I told him about storage. I mean, right now, we have this little building out back full. We have a mini storage toward town that's full. And obviously, a lot of stuff can be cleared out of both of them, but supplies require a lot of space. And we go through supplies quickly here. So if we could somehow keep them in the building, it would be nice having access to their supplies, not just from access, but from replenishing standpoint. We're not hauling boxes back and forth as we're needing them.
so they really need a separate storage room and a supply.
But now that could be upstairs.
Could be.
Storage?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
For the
I mean, we can do it.
the files and the stuff. I mean, if we go outside and down the stairs and everything to get them, upstairs would be all right. or that kind of stuff.
Especially like Christmas lights and stuff like that, it's seasonal.
Now, the bigger offices, or at least 3 or 4 of them, need to have view of the front door or thereabouts, because a lot of the staff, although we might have somebody, maybe one of those offices is like a greeter's desk, at a major complex or whatever, where they're right there to direct people and to greet them and receptionist and answer the phone. But the other staff need to have view of who's coming in, who's going, because they have to they have to cover for the one that's at the front desk when they're gone, and sticking them back in the corners is not going to be the way to do the main staff. Because 30 days a month, 20 days the staff's all that's here.
This time.
And back to the storage or the filing in the office, just kind of play around with that and see what you can come up with. Give us some options. Whether we need standalone storage or whether you could build some in, but give everybody some options there on storage. I don't know about y'all, but I have a whole room full, and 6 months into a term, I mean, I can imagine what it's going to be in 4 years.
I might add, if we do have enough space where everyone could have their own storage and we could go ahead and implement our own recycling process, 3-ring binders and things like that and tabs, those things get expensive. You start considering everything we do is times 20. Anytime that we can start recycling, especially 3-ring binders, those are not cheap. And you start thinking at them as case quantities. But then, being able to store them where, everything over 12 months old, if you want to bring it into the recycle room, then whenever it hits a certain age, we'll pull it out, take everything out, and recycle it. Use it again. And if you need some of these type of supplies when you're doing your work with your constituents or whatever, then we'll have kind of a storeroom there for you to access too.
We have more questions. Brett, do you have enough to get you started?
Yes, sir.
On the exercise room, are we talking showers and sinks and all that in case they want to?
I wouldn't draw that.
We don't need an exercise room.
No?
No, we're only here 2 or 3 days a month.
Put it in. All right. Come on. Just got an automatic deodorant dispenser.
I'm afraid I might be compelled to use it.
We have no more questions. I hear move to adjourn.
Second. He moved, I said.
I moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, yes? Yes. All in favor, same sign?
Exercise.